Hello everyone, my name is Suman Dua and I'm a registered migration agent at Nationwide Migration and Education. We make videos every week in regards to Australian migration, and if this is the topic you are interested in, you may wish to subscribe to our channel. In this video today, we will be talking about Tasmania's 190 nomination criteria. State nomination and your application for a visa are two separate processes. The Tasmanian government assesses your application for state nomination and the Department of Home Affairs assesses your visa application. Home Affairs criteria requires you to have a points test result of 65 or higher, inclusive of state nomination points, have a positive skills assessment in your nominated occupation, you need to be under 45 years of age, and you need to meet the minimum English language requirement of competent unless a higher level is required by your assessing authority. Some important things to note before we look at Tasmania's 190 criteria are that meeting the minimum nomination requirements published on their website does not guarantee that you will be offered Tasmanian nomination. Only the most competitive registrations of interest will be selected to be invited to apply for nomination. Another thing to note is that candidates nominated for a subclass 491 skilled work regional provisional visa will not be nominated for a permanent subclass 190 skilled nominated visa in the future. Also, if you or any family members, including those who don't apply for nomination with you, owe any fees to Tasmanian government agencies such as for education or health, the debt must be paid or arrangements for payment must be made prior to seeking nomination. You will not be eligible for nomination until the debt has been paid or a payment plan has been accepted by the agency. Now, there are three steps involved with Tasmania's 190 nomination. The first one is the EOI, also known as the expression of interest in the skill select system. Second one is the ROI, registration of interest. Registration is free and valid for 6 months. If you're not invited to apply for nomination and your registration expires, you may register again. And the step number 3 is your nomination application with Tasmania. There is a non-refundable fee of $300 plus $30 GST if in Australia to apply for nomination. Now, in this video today, we will be looking the nomination pathways for 190 visa. Some important things to consider before we start looking at the nomination pathways are that you must meet the minimum nomination requirements for your chosen pathway to register your interest and be considered for nomination. The priority attributes for each pathway are not required, but they will make you more competitive for a limited number of nominations. The more of the attributes you have, the better your chances of nomination and the sooner you may be invited to apply for nomination. When you register in the gateway, depending upon your priority attributes you have, you will be given a gold, green or orange pass, which will indicate your priority status. If you receive a gold pass, you will immediately be able to apply for nomination. If you receive a green pass, you will be invited to apply within the next 6 weeks. If you are given an orange pass, you may be invited to apply for nomination within the next 6 months, depending upon the volume of interest Tasmania has received and how many of the priority attributes you have. If you're not invited to apply within 6 months, your registration will expire and you will need to complete a new registration in the gateway to be considered for a nomination invitation. There are 4 different nomination pathways for a 190 visa, and each has different requirements and priority attributes that will determine your pass color. You may also need to possess one or more of the priority attributes listed for all pathways. The 4 nomination pathways are Tasmanian Skilled Employment Pathway, Tasmanian Skilled Graduate Pathway, Tasmanian Established Resident Pathway, Overseas Applicant Health Sector Job Offer Pathway. Now let's look at the first one, which is the Tasmanian Skilled Employment Pathway. To be considered for this pathway, you must meet all the criteria below. You can meet either the TOSOL option or the long-term employment option. So to meet the requirements for the TOSOL option, your employment must be in an occupation listed on the Tasmanian Onshore Skilled Employment Occupation List, TOSOL, and meet any caveats listed for that occupation. You must have been working in Tasmania for 6 months immediately prior to your application. Your employment must average at least 20 hours per week over the 6-month period immediately prior to lodging your application. If you are a subcontractor, you may be considered in this pathway if you have a related skills assessment and at least 12 months business activity in Tasmania. Now let's look at the second option, which is the long-term employment option. All occupations are eligible for this pathway. To meet the requirements for this pathway, you must have been working in Tasmania in role closely related to your skills assessment for at least 15 months immediately prior to your application. Your employment must meet any caveats listed for your occupation on the TOSOL. If you are a subcontractor, you may be considered in this pathway if you have a related skills assessment and at least 15 months business activity in Tasmania. Their second nomination pathway, which is Tasmanian Skilled Graduate Pathway, all occupations are eligible for this pathway. You must have completed a course of study and obtained a letter of completion letter from a tertiary institution in Tasmania registered on the Commonwealth Register of Institutions and Courses for Overseas Students, also known as CRICOS. You must have lived in the state for at least 2 calendar years from the commencement of your course and for the duration of your studies. Your course of study must be AQF5, which is diploma or higher, or at least Certificate 3 related to an ANSCO Major Group 3 or Group 4 occupation and be listed on CRICOS with a duration of at least 92 weeks. Your course must have been completed full-time and on-site in Tasmania. You must currently be living in Tasmania and intend to continue living in Tasmania. Tasmanian PhD candidates who have not completed an undergraduate degree in Tasmania are eligible in this pathway after living in Tasmania and completing at least 2 years of the PhD discipline in Tasmania. Now let's look at the third nomination pathway, which is Tasmanian Established Resident Pathway. To meet the requirements for this pathway, you must have been living in Tasmania for at least 3 years, with no more than 50% of your total Australian residence period spent in another Australian state or territory, and one of the following, which is currently being employed in Tasmania in a role equivalent to ANSCO skill level 1 to 3, including a cumulative 12 out of the last 24 months, which should be a minimum of 20 hours per week on average, or currently be employed in Tasmania, including cumulative 18 months in the last 3 years in a role equivalent to ANSCO skill level 4 or 5, a minimum 20 hours per week on average, have operated a business for at least the last 2 years with taxable earnings equivalent to the temporary skilled migration income threshold, currently 70,000. Let's look at the fourth nomination pathway, which is the Overseas Applicant Health Sector Job Offer Pathway. To be considered for this pathway, you must meet all the criteria. The minimum requirements are: you must have a health or elite health skills assessment for an occupation within one of the 4-digit ANSCO groups listed on their website. You must have received a formal job offer for a job that is based in Tasmania that is closely related to your nominated occupation. You or any of your dependents must not have lived in another Australian state or territory within the last 12 months. Your employer must have a well-established business that has been actively operating in Tasmania for at least the past 12 months. Your wages and conditions must be no less favorable than those that would apply to an Australian citizen or permanent resident, and salary or wages must be at least equivalent to the local market salary rate. There must be a genuine and ongoing need for your position within the business and the capacity for the business to sustain your employment. Now please note that Tasmania has the most complicated nomination and invitation process, and each pathway has their own requirements and attributes. If you are considering applying for a nomination with Tasmania in this financial year, you may wish to seek professional help. If you have any questions regarding your visa options, please book a consultation through the link in the description below. If you have any questions in regards to Australian migration, please get in touch with us. You can visit our website nationwidemigration.com.au and book a consultation online. If you would like to stay updated about Australian migration, please subscribe to our channel.